Okay, it is 19 July. It's Sunday. I'm Charlie Garrett, and this is the CG Prophecy Report. Sunny in the Sunshine State. That and a lot of other things to go over on today's report. Now we got some news from Israel, but it's funny that I said sunny in the Sunshine State because it's raining in the Sunshine State. And we would rather have the gray weather and rain because it's been very, very, very dry for about 3 or 4 months, maybe longer. And any rain that we get is helping to refill the lakes, the rivers, the wells. If you have a well, I've got a well out on the Key. And we also have public water, but you got to have a well or your public water, watering your plants becomes like billions of dollars. And so having a well which is great. They don't do that for houses anymore. Most people do not get a well, and so they have to do everything on public water or reused water if you have that available to you. They will never have reused water available to you on CS Key, and so it's either have a well or pay zillions of dollars for water. So we're thankful for the rain, even though it's sunny in the Sunshine State. From Israel, news from Israel Hayom. Israel-Greece Air Force drill sends message in Turkey's backyard. This is about a week and a half ago, but I always like to report on military maneuvers of Israel, especially with their allies, which are not many. Greece is one of their very closest allies. Greek media reported extensively on a joint aerial exercise between the IAF and the Greek Air Forces over the island of Crete in southern Greece. In recent days, another joint training exercise was held in which an IAF tanker aircraft carried out aerial refueling of Greek F-16 fighter jets south of Crete. This specific activity is seen as another clear operational message. The ability of Greek fighter jets to operate over long distances, remain airborne for longer periods, and take part in long-range air operation scenarios changes the equation in the Eastern Mediterranean. Now, before I go on, I will say that even though it's changing those parameters a little bit, Trump is trying to get F-35 fighter jets, the stealth fighter jets, to Turkey. And so that will, again, change the dynamics. I do not believe that they would be as far advanced as the Israeli F-35s because they do have better, superior avionics in the Israeli Air Force that they put into their planes, but it will bring an imbalance once again. So you got some things going on. I may report on that next week because it is developing right now. But the Greek Air Force does not have its own fleet of refueling aircraft. They are dependent on Israel for that. And the possibility of a partner with this complementary capability is appealing to military planners in Athens. Aerial refueling is not merely a technical process, but a critical capability for strategic deep strike missions, operations to defend maritime lines of communication, escorting surface forces, long-range strikes, and maintaining an aerial presence in areas of significant interest, from Crete and Cyprus to the broader Eastern Mediterranean. Although Israel generally refrains from publicizing IAF activity, it has previously announced that it regularly conducts aerial refueling drills with Greece several times a year. Now, this is important because if you ever watch this, you can go online and you can say aerial refueling U.S. military. Okay, there's a guy, Jam, what's his name? Something Jam. He does a great job. He's a naval pilot. He flies this type of aircraft, and he does the best videos on this type of thing, whether it's taking off from an aircraft carrier, landing, the technical skills involved in certain things. I'm trying to remember his name so I can give it to you, and it's not coming to me. But he will show you how critical it is to know how to refuel by aerial refueling in advance. It's not something you just do like we go to a gas station and fill up. It's very, very technical. They have to be very careful. The slightest mistake can cause the thing to pop out and break a windshield, and the pilot has to. It's just very technical. So to have this ability to work with Israel is crucial for the Greek Air Forces. These include long-distance operational flights and the refueling of fighter jets so they can continue their missions for longer hours. Cooperation between the two air forces is not a circumstantial choice. On the contrary, it is part of a broader strategic plan taking shape in the eastern Mediterranean at a time when Turkey is trying to strengthen its deterrence, while also contending with serious delays, uncertainties, and restrictions in its Air Force upgrade programs. Mail Online. Tortured by Hamas's so-called doctors. Now, you hear about how bad Israel is. If somebody in Gaza has a need for chemotherapy, Israel will take them in and they will heal them. If it's a little kid that's, got a problem, they'll bring them in. They give them the best treatment in the world. They take care of their patients. This is a person that was abducted by Hamas on October 7th. And listen to what they did to this person. And the world has said nothing about this. October 7th hostages' terrifying account of how Gaza medics sliced open her skin, poured alcohol into open wounds, and reattached her foot at a 90-degree angle. A former Hamas hostage has opened up about the cruelty deliberately inflicted on her by Palestinian doctors who reattached her ankle at a 90-degree angle after she was shot by terrorists. Terrorists got them, shot them, took them in, and then they butchered them. Maya Regev, who was 21 when she was kidnapped on October 7, 2023, also revealed how medics in Gaza needlessly just sliced her open, poured skin into the wounds, chlorine and vinegar over the wounds while watching her helplessly scream in pain. Just days earlier, has anybody heard any of this anywhere? No, they don't report this, and yet this is the brutality of these people in Gaza. And it's never reported on. Just days earlier, Maya had been enjoying the best 4 hours of my life after joining fellow trance revelers at the Nova Festival alongside her younger brother Itai, who was 18 at the time, and their close friend Omer Shem Tov, 20. All three would later fall into the hands of Hamas terrorists, who ruthlessly shot them at close range before hauling them onto a truck across the Gaza border. So they were unharmed when they got captured. They shot them intentionally to wound them, not kill them, and then they pulled them over the border. If Israel did that, it would make every paper in every liberal news magazine and newscast in the world for the next 10 months. Maya and Itai were later released in November 2023 during the first ceasefire negotiations, having spent 50 days under the control of their brutal captors. But Omer, who went on to be held in isolation and kept largely in darkness, was finally released after 505 days. Now, Israel gives them good treatment. They give them good food. The Palestinians lie about it. They tell them that we've got fleas and blah, blah, blah. And they go in and they check. It's always a lie, but it makes the news. And everybody reports about the bad treatment of Israel towards their captives. It's not true. But when they do these type of things to Israelis, not a peep. I'm glad Mail Online put this out. Maya from Herzliya, Central Israel, is one of several survivors appearing at an immersive exhibition in London showing the atrocities that took place at the Nova Festival on October 7th. Some 413 people were killed, 44 taken hostage to Gaza from the annual outdoor trance festival in southern Israel, with terrorists inflicting similar barbarities in nearby kibbutzim. Okay, so this is what's going on in the real world. Not what you hear about on the news, but real people that are being really damaged by these savages down in Gaza. Got some news from Christianity. Christian Post. Iranian regime threatens to seize historic Protestant church, imprison worshipers. So this is what's going on in Iran, and most people don't care about it. But one of the last remaining historic Protestant churches in Iran is reportedly facing the threat of confiscation by the Iranian government, drawing renewed international attention to the country's treatment of religious minorities. Iran has threatened to seize Tehran's historic St. Peter Evangelical Church and evict the 20 families who reside there. Authorities have already seized a 10,000 square meter garden belonging to the church, which is being occupied by 4 officials with Iran's IRGC. The Anti-Defamation League's Task Force on Middle East Minorities issued a statement condemning the threatened seizure, as well as the Islamic Republic of Iran's treatment of Iran's Protestant Christian communities. So you didn't hear about that anywhere except on the Christian Post, even though it said, drew international attention. I haven't seen any international attention on that at all, just in Christian websites. LifeSite News. Pope Leo appoints German bishop who endorsed homosexual blessings claimed sodomy is not sinful. So now we've got this guy as a bishop in the Catholic Church that takes this stand. Pope Leo XIV named Monsignor Christian Wirtz an auxiliary bishop in the Diocese of Freiburg, Germany, who has a history of supporting homosexual blessings and contradicting the Church's teaching on homosexuality as the next bishop of Eichstätt. Okay, before I go on, that's their official position, but if you go behind the scenes in the Vatican, they're all a bunch of gay people. Okay, we've known that for centuries and centuries and centuries, but that's for them, not for you. Wirtz, 55, was among the 38 German bishops in 2023 who voted in favor of a document endorsing blessings for homosexual couples as well as for the divorced and remarried. 6 months earlier, Wirtz supported the German Synodal Way's heterodox doctrinal reassessment of homosexuality. So you can take something that the Bible forbids and reassess it because we're not dealing with the Bible here. That's what they're saying. It's a document that falsely claims homosexual acts are not sinful and not intrinsically evil. I'm looking forward to my new role. Of course he is. Wirtz said in an official diocesan statement, "It is a beautiful coincidence that my appointment takes place on the feast day of St. Willibald, the patron saint of the Diocese of Eichstätt. I hope that with my experience and abilities, I can also contribute to building the kingdom of God in Eichstätt. I don't think that's happening. Then walk alongside the people here. I thank Pope Leo for the trust he has placed in me and am now looking forward to getting to know the people in the diocese." This is the world we're living in, where the Bible is completely rejected by the supposedly religious expression of Christianity. Got some news from the Mideast and Africa today. Gateway Pundit. UN fires whopping 70 Gaza staffers in wake of Israeli claims aid workers were terrorists, as Tel Aviv provides evidence of claims. So now they've admitted by default, by firing 70 people that have been identified as terrorists, that they actually are terrorists. There you go. While refusing to acknowledge that it is riddled with loyalists to Hamas, the UNRWA has fired 70 workers in Gaza. The agency, which has seen funding dry up in the aftermath of documented concerns from Israel, insisted its workers were untainted. A statement said the dismissal of the staff is not a part of a disciplinary process and does not constitute in any way a validation of the claims made against them. The agency insisted that despite past Israeli claims, which are proved on paper and by photo evidence, etc., complete with evidence of UNRWA workers joining Hamas in terrorist activity, the claims from Israel remain unproven. UNRWA has repeatedly, now this is why they're doing this, is because a couple weeks ago I read to you that the U.S. did the same investigation, found out everything that Israel's reported on is true, and the U.S. is the only one that gives billions of dollars to the UN. Everybody else just gives a little here and there, and they want that money to start again coming from the U.S. Well, it's not going to while Trump is president. It's not going to happen because they are terrorists in the UN. They have repeatedly asked the Israeli authorities provide information and evidence to substantiate allegations against individual UNRWA staff members in Gaza, but has received no response to date. I've been reading responses to date for the past 3 years. 3 years or 2 years, whatever it was, October 2004. Okay, 2 years. Our sustained documentation of UNRWA's deep infiltration by Hamas, including our UNRWA terror network map identifying at least 400 culprits, together with the U.S. Aid Inspector General, has finally forced the agency's hand. For years, UN Watch has exposed how UNRWA teachers, school principals, and other employees are intertwined with Hamas, including terror chiefs heading the staff unions. And yes, this did go back before October 2024 because they reported time and again of the books that were being read to the students with little terrorist things and blow up the Jews and et cetera, et cetera. That's been going on as long as I've been doing this prophecy update. Today's action, while welcome, is only a small beginning. This incoherent position, firing people while refusing to acknowledge why, reveals an institution still more interested in protecting itself and its Hamas-embedded workforce than in genuine neutrality or accountability. UN Secretary Guterres said UNRWA is running a $100 million deficit and needs cash now. I hope they have a total deficit and go out of business. Just close them down. UNRWA is a stabilizing force in an age of instability. Can you imagine that guy even saying this at this point? Calling exposure of its links to Hamas disinformation, smear campaigns, legislative actions, operational restrictions, diplomatic roadblocks, and more. The UN has said it responded to complaints by dismissing UNRWA staff it thinks may have been involved in attacking Israel. We're not even living in the same paradigm at all. They're in La La Land, where we are sitting here in reality wondering what has happened to the thinking of the people of the world. Zero Hedge. ISIS terrorist reaches Britain via small boat. ISIS terrorist, after TikTok assured him UK accepts everyone. I'm not making it here, so I'll go to the UK and they'll accept me. A convicted ISIS terrorist who attended beheadings and public floggings in Iraq has been jailed for 2 years after arriving in Britain on a small boat. Now, he's been jailed, but when he gets out, which will be really early because they have the early release program for all terrorists, he'll get out and they won't deport him. He'll just be there living in the society, a known ISIS terrorist. He told, before I go on, I watched a video. Where did I see this? Maybe a Mail Online. A lady's walking in the countryside of the UK, the safest place in the world up until a couple years ago. You want to accept American Werewolf in London. That one didn't go over so well. Okay, but other than that account, all right, you walk in the English countryside and it's like being in Japan. It's very, very safe. There's no problem. And what happens, this lady's walking with her children and this guy from like Somalia or something walked behind her for like 10 miles. Creepy video. She's filming him the whole time and he's just walking behind her, like tracking her, like hunting her. And it's just one of those things. Now they have to live with that in their lives. Terrible. Anyway, he told officials he came because he heard on TikTok that UK accepts everyone, respects human rights. This guy respects human rights by having public beheadings, but Mohammed Yassin, 35, had lived a desolate existence in Iraq before aligning with ISIS. So it was his desolate existence that turned him into a terrorist. He watched ceremonies including stonings and was found with a Kalashnikov rifle. He later traveled to Germany in 2014, made multiple asylum claims, and was convicted in Dusseldorf for participating in a terrorist organization and membership of ISIS. He received a 4-year and 3-month sentence and a 20-year expulsion order. Instead of being returned to Iraq, Yassin made his way to France and then crossed the Channel. On 13 December 2025, a border force vessel intercepted the small boat carrying around 80 people. Yassin gave a false name, claimed to be from Kuwait, and lied about his age and background. Oh, okay, just come on in. No checking, just come on in. He was placed in a hotel in Basingstoke with clean clothes and asylum support. So they're taking care of this terrorist. Biometrics exposed the deception. He was arrested and later admitted entering the UK without valid clearance. Winchester Crown Court heard the full extent of his past. Prosecutor Stephen Molloy told the court he said he traveled from Kuwait to France from Belgium and was seeking asylum. He said he did not like it in France, but heard on TikTok that the UK accepts everyone and respects human rights. There's a deeper and lengthy involvement in terrorism and Islamic extremist ideology. Our assessment is that he is a high risk in all categories. There's a danger that this individual poses to the whole of the UK. Defense barrister Katie Porter-Windley acknowledged that the German convictions, but she insisted that they had no bearing on his UK intentions and that he committed no further offenses here. Okay, he hasn't done anything here, so until he blows somebody up or kills a bunch of people, it doesn't matter. Okay, he lied leaving, he lied getting to one country, he lied in another country, and then in a third country, he goes to the UK, and she's defending this guy. Yes, they really argued that the convicted ISIS terrorist should be allowed to claim asylum. Judge Christopher Parker, KC, noted evidence that Yassin could speak English despite claiming otherwise and stated you made absolutely no mention of what happened in Germany in 2020 when you were convicted of a serious offense. My judgment is that your culpability is exceedingly high. There's a strong likelihood that you will be deported from this country either at the start of or before your sentence is concluded. Yassin is now serving his sentence and faces removal, which will never happen. It'll never happen as long as they keep that liberal government. Gateway Pundit. Muslim teen killed himself stabbing Orthodox Jew in Switzerland. He faces 1 year in prison. Wow. Zero Hedge. Spain, 70% of tested unaccompanied minor immigrants are actually adults. 70% liars. AP, more than 300 children killed or injured in Sudan war in 6 months, UNICEF says. 300 children killed. Not a word from the UN about that, but Israel blows up a building with a bunch of terrorists who have brought in 4 children, and that makes the news for a month. Western Journal, Muslim goes viral shouting, "This is the Islamic Republic of New Yorkistan." Mondani's New York claims Islam will be in every household. This is what they have running around in New York City now. Mongolia, very important news for you. In case you go to Mongolia, you want to know what airline is safe and which one to take. Airline ratings. Which airline in Mongolia is the safest? MIAT Mongolian Airlines gets a 7 out of 7 review. The flag carrier tops the table with a perfect 7-star rating, and it earns every point of it. Aero Mongolia, 7.7. Like Miat, the airline is IOSA registered, carries no fatal accidents on its record over the past 10 years, sits under no EU flight ban, and meets international operating safety standards. Good job. That's 2 of them. Now you have Hunu Air. They get a 5 out of 7. Hunu holds a clean, recent safety record and passes muster on operating standards, but its 5-star reflect 2 points it forfeits for not yet holding IOSA registration. And what is recent? I mean, last month, 10 planes went down? I don't know. So I would refrain from Hunu unless they give you a really good bargain price, okay? Daniel 12 Technology today, futurism. Random, this is great. We've talked about this in the past. This is very, very interesting. Israel had this capability and they were able to see what's going on behind walls and stuff. Well, guess what? Now that is in your router at home. And people can get in there and they can watch everything that's going on in your home because of your router. And if you have those extender routers, they all make a bigger picture. So they can, listen to this. Random standard Wi-Fi routers can scan your body to identify exactly who you are, alarming new research finds. The types of Wi-Fi routers we all have in our homes come with a major privacy vulnerability that can be used to identify any human body that comes within their range. The study used machine learning systems to identify individuals with an accuracy rate of, it's getting better. They're still a little bit low on accuracy. It's only 99.5% accurate, okay? So there's 0.5% that they may not be able to identify who you are. To do so, the researchers exploited a vulnerability in a process known as beam forming, feedback information, which was introduced to allow routers to focus Wi-Fi signals on connected devices. While BFI is great for network connectivity, it has major downsides for privacy. For starters, devices connected to a router using beamforming need to send constant feedback in order to be found. As routers send out and receive network feedback, the signal is inevitably impacted by real-world factors like pets, walls, and people. That gap between the signal routers expect to receive and the distorted feedback they actually get allowed researchers to extrapolate the identities of 161 individual participants based on BFI data, which inadvertently mapped their physical characteristics. Inadvertently. China has access to every router that is installed in America. If your router is made in China, they can get into your router. They've already proven that, and they say that they're trying to get rid of these routers because they're made in China, and China wants to know your information. They can scan your entire house and know where you're going. If you've got, say you got a safe, a gun safe, right? They're going to know where you go to get it or whatever. They're going to know everything about your house. If China could get in there, I guarantee you that a government agency that you don't want in your house is going to be in your house, okay? Even when individuals change their gait or carried objects like backpacks and crates, the system registered an accuracy of between 50 and 60%. So I'm going to change my gait and I'm going to, hobble with my right leg like Jim today because he's got a bad leg. That'll happen, okay? They'll still be able to identify who you are. The kit findings contrast to other Wi-Fi tracking systems, like one developed by researchers at Sapienza University of Rome. That method, called WHO-Fi, uses channel state information, which is much harder to access on consumer hardware, but can still identify people through walls with an alarmingly high accuracy rate. That WHO-Fi study made a point to highlight the anonymity factor, the idea that the sensing system can detect people's presence but not identify them. The KIT team refutes that framing outright, arguing that Wi-Fi sensing technology poses major privacy risks regardless. So they're saying, well, this doesn't really affect your privacy. This one from Italy, it does. And everybody knows it. They can see everything going on in your house all the time. While there may be legitimate use cases, we explicitly consider identity interference via Wi-Fi sensing a privacy attack. This view reflects the serious risks associated with the ubiquity of Wi-Fi networks, their ability to sense through walls and non-line of sight scenarios, and the fact that this would likely happen without explicit consent. The researchers don't mince words about the implications of their initial findings. In their conclusion, the KIT team writes that regulators and companies moving to standardized Wi-Fi sensing should strongly consider adding effective privacy protection or else abandon beamforming entirely, which I don't think will ever happen because they got to get the information to your router and to all of your little devices all around your property. But that's the world we're living in right now. Somebody right now is spying on you through your TV if you didn't change the settings in your TV. They put that in by default and they say, well, this is to check things out and you can change that to, I don't want to be spied on. If you don't, then normally those TVs are going to have the ability to spy on you. The same thing is true now with your routers, but they don't give you an opt-out option on your router. It's a dangerous world, including the inevitable plagues noted in the book of Revelation. Mail Online, cases of parasite that causes explosive bathroom emergencies surge. Now, this is about 5 days ago. I didn't change it because it's been going so rapidly. If you want to see the most update news of all on the parasite and the problems with it, go to thecgreport.com, thecgreport.com. You'll see all of the latest on the taco surprise, okay? But that's what's going on right now. The CDC has reported that 145 Americans in 17 states have contracted the cyclospora parasite from an unknown source. We now know what it is. They identified it yesterday. It's on thecgreport.com. It was a particular farm that Taco Bell uses to reach their produce, bring it in from Mexico to America. They have stopped using that, but there has been a lot of unnecessary toilet flushing around many states in America because of this. Okay, so we'll skip the rest of that article. Zero Hedge. Tourist nightmare? Toxic bone-cutting fish invades Mediterranean beaches. So they've got a fish. You go swimming in the Mediterranean Sea on these nice beaches, and they have fish that can eat your finger right off of your body. Yes, the silver-cheeked toadfish, originally native to the Indian Ocean. Why would that be there? If it's in the Indian Ocean, why would it be up in the Mediterranean? Anybody? No? Listen to this. Talk about creating a problem of your own making, or whatever the saying is. It entered the Mediterranean through the Suez Canal. As rising sea temperatures, which isn't true, by the way, but as rising sea temperatures expanded its range, officials say the fish is now common in parts of Greece, including Rhodes, and has spread as far as Italy and Spain. So we cut a channel through to make shipping more efficient, less expensive and all that kind of stuff. And then the fish just say, oh, we got new places we can go. Because it can't go down around the Horn of Africa and then down around the bottom part of Africa. And then that's too far and it gets way cold down there. They can't handle that. So they're going for the warmer water by going up through the Suez Canal. The species poses multiple hazards. It carries the potent neurotoxin tetrodotoxin, making its flesh and organs potentially fatal if consumed, and its powerful beak-like teeth are capable of inflicting deep wounds. Greek authorities recently warned beachgoers to seek immediate medical attention after any bite. One fisherman described the species as devastating to marine life, warning that a bite could easily sever a finger. MSN. Warning as deadly fungal storms sweep America with toxic dust-carrying disease. This time of year, they call them hubus or hobos or something, the big dust storms that they get in the Middle East. Well, we get them in America too. And they pick up all of the dust, and in that dust are all these diseases. So don't go out to that part of the country right now, because if you do, you're bound to get some lung disease. They're probably immune out there after living there for 50 years, or however long they've been living out there, but we are not. So don't go there.
Go where?
Out to the desert southwest, right, where our deserts are, okay? Anyway, meteorologists and health experts have warned that dust storms in the southwest will stir up dangerous fungal spores from the soil through September. Okay, if you want, type that in. Dust storms these things are huge. They engulf entire cities. It looks like a giant wave on the beach coming over the city, and then it's just totally, you can't see anything, and you're like, where am I? And okay, so no need to go there until after September. The spores turn into growing fungal cells that the immune system typically fights off, causing mild flu-like symptoms such as fever, cough, and headaches in most patients, but severe infections can spread to the organs and bones and become fatal. Morality from Just the News. Morality from Just the News. Texas Supreme Court says woman who regrets gender transition can sue therapist. Now think of the ramifications of that. Every lunatic out there that's had their sex changed, they can now say, I don't like what's happened to me, and I can sue, and hopefully that will stop this nonsense, financially just bankrupting these lunatics that are cutting humans up the way they are. Good job. Breitbart, socialist candidate Francesca Hong wants taxpayer-funded gender transition care for kids. Hong is just wrong. Breitbart, far-left Muslim Senate candidate Abdul El Sayed includes gender-affirming care in his platform. Zero Hedge, New York City appropriates $7 million for trans equity drag queen story hours. $7 million. They have billionaires leaving, and now the millionaires are starting to depart. They are losing billions of dollars of tax revenue because of these people. And guess what? They're spending $7 million on drag queen story hours. Zero Hedge. Lego faces backlash over pride-themed content aimed at kids. Gay Lego. Breitbart. Transgender people leaving red states are draining Democrat-run Seattle's nonprofits. Good. Mail Online. Woke activists push for Black English to be taught in Democrat states' preschools to combat harmful language hierarchies. Yeah. The Post, but you know what? I wish they did that here in Sarasota when I was in high school. I would have pushed for surfer talk. Everybody would be like, hey, dude. Right? The Post Millennial. YMCA summer camps urged to revise transgender policies following Supreme Court Title IX ruling. So they've been doing this woke stuff in the YMCA, and now they're being urged to stop it. Nobody should ever go to the YMCA because it's not a YMCA. Young men's, Christian, no, none of that applies anymore. Reuters, U.S. DOJ says Jersey City College prep school to end DEI admissions practices. Okay, we've got all that good news along with the bad news, but the good news is solely because of one person. One person, Donald Trump. Solely. We've got some other news too. BBC. Russia looks to students. You know, I reported on this last week and the week before, and I'm going to continue to because I want you to know what's going on right now in Russia. I'm sorry, I know this is depressing, but I want you to know. Russia looks to students to make up for mounting losses in Ukraine. Valerie Averin is among the first Russian students known to have died in the war after being signed up in a recruitment drive in educational institutions. They don't have anybody left, so they're going to the schools where people are going into higher education. He studied drones for 3 months. Oh, you're going to be in a drone unit. That sounds great. Nobody's going to attack the drone unit. They're 450 miles back, right? Listen to this. Study drones for 3 months. He's writing home to mom. Mom, I'm going to be in drone school. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. And yet they still threw him into a frontal assault into the meat grinder, says Averin's foster mother. The 23-year-old is among the first Russian students known to have been killed in Ukraine after signing up as part of a new large-scale drive to recruit young people from universities and colleges. They're taking their best now, and they're sending them in the meat grinder. In Russia's drone forces. So that's how they're doing it. You're going to be in the drone force. Everything is going to be fine. The campaign to encourage students at universities, technical colleges, and vocational schools to sign Army contracts began early this year, as Russia sought to sustain its war effort into a fifth year. It is focused particularly on those struggling academically or considering taking a break from their studies. Drone units have been presented as a more elite and technically advanced path through war. Averin grew up in an orphanage in eastern Siberia until he was taken into foster care at aged 11. By the time he was recruited into the Army, he was in his final year at Buryat Republican Technical School of Construction. Early in April, he called his foster mother to say he was being sent somewhere with no phone signal and that she should not worry. Initially, he said he had gone away to earn money at Wildeberries, a Russian online retailer, and she was shocked to find out he had signed a military contract and had completed training as a drone operator. A week later, on April 8th, she learned he had been killed. So he's one of those 22-minute battlefield deaths, and they finally reported it to her. He was killed in a mortar strike near Russian-occupied Luhansk in eastern Ukraine. Students are told they can sign up for only 1 year, including they don't need a year. They're dying within the first day that they get there, usually within the first 30 to 40 minutes when they get there, acquiring large payments and valuable tech skills, which won't do them any good at all because they'll be dead before returning to their studies. In some universities, students are promised additional benefits, including lump sum payments, budget-funded places, easier admission to postgraduate courses, or better accommodation. In the capital of Moscow, leaflets distributed to the students say volunteers could receive at least 5 million rubles in the first year. But lawyers and rights activists warn these promises may not be enforceable. They gave a lot of stories. That was just one. They gave a lot of them. All these people going in wanting to serve Mother Russia or Father Russia, whatever they say over there, and they end up dead within a couple of days after being sent to the front lines. The debrief. Russia has now lost more troops in Ukraine than every war since World War II combined. Every war. The evidence shows that while Moscow continues to push offensive operations, it is doing so at an increasingly staggering human cost. Rather than relying on anecdotal assessments, the researchers compiled numerous data sets to evaluate how Russia's military campaign has evolved over more than 4 years of fighting. Their conclusion? Although Russia continues to wage war, its battlefield performance has deteriorated, while the costs in manpower have reached historic levels. Significantly, the casualty imbalance between Russia and Ukraine continues to widen. Ukraine is losing less and less people because they're not engaging on the battlefield. They're sending in drones and blowing up hundreds and thousands of those poor Russian kids that just want to go out and, make a little money for mom back home or something. Gateway Pundit. Florida votes to ban illegal immigrants from public colleges and universities. I can't believe we had to have a vote on that, but we did. The Florida State Board of Education, it's not the Congress, it's the Education Board, voted 6-1. That one should be taken off the board to prohibit illegal immigrants from enrolling in the state's 28 public colleges and adult education programs. Under the new policy, institutions within the Florida college system will only admit U.S. citizens or individuals lawfully present in the country. Applicants must attest to their legal status and provide supporting documentation before enrolling. The rule also applies to adult general education programs, including GED classes. The Florida Board of Governors, which oversees the state's 12 public universities, advanced a similar measure. Beginning with the 2027-2028 academic year, individuals unlawfully present in the U.S. will be ineligible for initial enrollment at selective public universities, so the higher level as well. A final vote is still pending. If that doesn't go through, they need to fire all of them. But the proposal is expected to move forward. As expected, left-wing activist groups, the SPLC, who's in so much trouble that they may never see the light of day again, and Democrat lawmakers criticize the reform, describing it as cruel. Critics argue that the policy could reduce institutional revenue and negatively affect students who grew up in Florida despite lacking legal immigration status. Do you know, I'm going to tell you something. I know this is going to interest you at all, but I'm going to say it anyway. And the guy that sits over here who's 3 days younger than me, he's going to be mad that I'm doing this. But and the reason why is because he wants to make more money later. I went down. I'm going to be 62 in less than a month. Is it less than? Yeah, less than a month. Okay, 62. Guess what you can do at 62? You can apply for Social Security. It's not going to make any difference because I never made any money anyway. So if I wait 50 years to get a bigger, I'm not going to make that much more. So I'm going to get it. And I have a couple of reasons for that. One is that I can manage my money way better than the U.S. government. Okay, I'm certain of that. Two, I don't want to be 75 or 80 to get my money and enjoy it. Okay, that doesn't interest me because I'm not going to enjoy it. And I may be dead by then. And then third, I want to get as much as I can before the rapture so I can take it with me. Okay, so, all right. Other people have different views on that. Those are my views and the reason why I'm doing it. Do you know I went down there and I had to show that I was a U.S. citizen. I had to show my Social Security number, my ID. I had to show them pretty much everything. Everything. And we don't have that for public education, and we don't have that for voting. Now, tell me this is a war. Did you hear about, what was it, the Olive Garden? The all-you-can-eat Olive Garden? They have to prove that they are who they are before they get that benefit. They have to come in with their ID to tell, I am this person. Now, if you have to have that in the Olive Garden, you think it would be safe to have it when you're voting? Okay? Anyway, do what you want with Social Security. I'm going to get mine now. Okay, mail online. You know, I've never taken any pay from the church. In other words, I don't have something that says that this is pay. Okay? There's nothing like that. There's no paying into whatever. This has been an act of grace on my part. And if something comes in as a gift, that's my, and that's happened for years. We've never asked for a thing in this church ever. Okay. And because of that, I have no record of making any money. And because of that, I will get no Social Security except what was based on my old jobs years and years ago that I got paid like $2.15 an hour. Okay. Except in the U.S. military where I went up through tech sergeant. And at that time, I think I got $8.32 an hour or something. So it doesn't make any difference. But if you're making a lot of money and you want to wait till you're an old guy, go ahead. I'm not trying to influence you one way or another. Mail online. Florida cracks down on disingenuous added charge to your restaurant bill and locals are relieved. So here's another reason why it's sunny in the Sunshine State. We're getting rid of illegals from using our money in universities. You know what? We have the lottery, right? We have the lottery. They started out 25 years ago, and what was the reason? Education. It was going to pay for all education. There would never need to be any taxes on education. Your kids will go for free forever and ever. Amen. And it has done nothing but just drain more people of more money. That's all that happens with the lottery. Nothing has changed. The costs have gone up, not down, etc. Okay, they crack down on these disingenuous added charges. Especially with these tourists. They come down here and they get milked by these people. A new state law has officially come into force requiring restaurants to be upfront about extra charges such as automatic gratuities, service fees, delivery fees, and credit card surcharges, ending a practice that has long frustrated diners who only discover the additional costs after ordering. The transparency rules, which took effect on July 1st, are becoming welcomed by many consumers and who say surprise charges have become an increasingly common and unwelcome part of eating out. We go out for mission work, lunch every Saturday after we do mission work. Sometimes we don't, but usually we go together as a group. And whoever orders, say we go get a pizza. And the bill says it's going to be, the pizza is $37.20, and you get Cokes. And by the time you're done, it's $52.19. Okay? And then when you get the bill, it's $932.06. You say, what is this? And they say, well, that's just, you pay it right now. So under the law, any restaurant that adds operation charge, defined as any mandatory fee beyond government taxes, must clearly disclose it on menus, websites, mobile ordering apps, and written contracts. Restaurants without printed menus must instead display the information prominently on menu boards or on signs near the register. Just the news. DeSantis, more sunny in the Sunshine State, to designate more than 90 groups as foreign terrorist organizations. Great job. Great job. HB 1471 creates a permanent statutory framework to combat terrorism while protecting the constitutional rights of Floridians, DeSantis said in a statement. It establishes a formal terrorist designation process through the Florida DLE. prevents taxpayer-funded institutions from supporting or promoting FTOs, ensures foreign or religious legal codes cannot override the U.S. or Florida constitutions. No Sharia in Florida ever. Creates state enforcement mechanisms and criminal penalties for providing material support to FTOs, and authorizes the governor and his cabinet to issue FTO designations. DeSantis says he intends to formally designate CAIR, the Muslim terrorist group, as terrorists. Also, Antifa, the Sinaloa cartel, Gulf and Del Noreste cartels, the Venezuelan prison gang Tren de Aragua or whatever, the IRGC, among others, as FTOs. So Antifa, man, they can't come here and get any money or support at all, ever, from Florida. Great. Zero hedge. Trump says Walmart will slash ground prices in huge deal for consumers. Before I read this, as soon as I type this or put this into the... I went back to when Trump became president the second time. Do you remember what he did? What was happening? And he said... He went around the entire world, and within 2 weeks, a problem that was so out of sight that nobody could believe it was taken care of, and we've never questioned it again, and we've all of us have forgotten about it, except Charlie Gare. Eggs. Remember how they were they were unbelievably expensive. They had gone up so high under Biden that we could not afford to go out for breakfast because of eggs. They were insane. And within 2 weeks of becoming president the second time, he had contacted Italy. He had contacted whatever that country down there by Zimbabwe is. And all of these, he had contacted everybody. He says, we need eggs. We want your support. They stepped in line, and we have never had a problem with egg prices since then. Does everybody remember that now? Meat. Unbelievable. Meat. Walmart will slash prices on a range of products at his admin's request, including a 15% reduction in ground beef prices. The move comes on top of falling gasoline and diesel pump prices, which I understand are going back up a little bit, and that's to be expected because we got lunatics over in Iran, as the administration intensifies its affordability push and makes it clear that capitalists, not socialists, will solve the cost of living crisis. They bring up the prices. Trump comes in and they say, we have affordability crisis because of what Biden did. And everybody believes it. My administration is lowering prices that Joe Biden incompetently raised, with the worst inflation crisis in history, a total disaster along the southern border, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, and many other failures, including eggs. The Trump admin is likely to remain hyper-focused on affordability through the summer and into the midterms, as it seeks to show voters that market-based capitalism, not government intervention or socialist experiments, is the best path to lowering prices and easing household finance pressure. Okay, I saw an article just yesterday. A lady in New York who's one of these DSA socialists says they're putting in this government-run grocery. And she said it doesn't matter if that runs out of business the profit-making groceries because they deserve it. Okay, what's going to happen is when they are gone because they don't want to compete against the government, the prices are going to happen just like they do in every communist-run place in the world. They're going to go up, up, up. The scarcity is going to begin, and there's going to be no food, and you're going to be paying millions of dollars every year to rent empty buildings, and that'll be your food source, just like it is in Russia and everywhere else that socialism and communism has come into play. Okay? They don't care that they're ruining the economy of New York. They are doing it purposefully. They're purposefully doing it. Who said it? I am fond of pigs. Dogs look up to us. Cats look down on us. Pigs treat us as equals.
Charlie Garrett.
No, but I love to eat pigs. They're wonderful. Bacon and ham and pork and chitlins. I could go on all day. Anyway, Churchill. Winston Churchill liked pigs. Okay. Got a lesser here for you. Florida only wants legals in school to prevent for the rest what is cruel. Libs et al. Sing the song, to change such would be wrong. But whoever thinks that is a fool. Okay, irony, two ironies actually. This is ironic. BBC interview, this is Mail Online. BBC interview on how to keep your pets safe in the heat wave is interrupted by a dog terrorizing wildlife. She's standing there by a lake, and she's saying, we just got to keep cool and blah, blah, blah. And then this dog starts eating ducks behind her, right? Mail Online. Family who purchased an Amazon urn for their grandma's ashes are horrified after discovering somebody else's remains are already inside. Boo! Yeah, such is the world in which we live. So from Sarasota, Florida to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, I'm Charlie Garrett, and that is your CG Prophecy Report for the week.